Behind the glamorous facade of the music industry is a harsh reality that often goes unnoticed. The heartbreaking stories of talented musicians fired from their beloved bands. Music's a lifelong passion, and being forced to leave a band can feel like losing a part of yourself. In some cases, musicians are fired for reasons beyond their control. In other cases, musicians are fired for more personal reasons, such as creative differences or personality clashes. Whatever the reason, being fired from a band can be a heartbreaking experience. Here, we're going to explore the stories of musicians who face the challenges of being fired from their bands that shed light on the personal struggles and obstacles they came across along their musical journeys. Ozzy Osbourne from Black Sabbath. Ozzy is a legend in the heavy metal industry. We all know him from the band Black Sabbath that he co-founded. His unique vocals, fascinating stage presence are huge reasons Black Sabbath is as iconic as they are now. But Ozzy had many personal struggles that he wasn't exactly good at dealing with. His substance abuse and erratic behavior took a toll on the entire band. Although drug use was the norm for band members during the height of Black Sabbath's fame, Ozzy's was way above what was manageable for the people around him. His drug and alcohol use reached a point where it affected his ability to contribute to the band. When they were recording the album Never Say Die, the band struggled to make anything sound right because of the drug use. The members got frustrated and eventually decided to fire Ozzy from the band in 1979. His dismissal from the band almost shattered him because he locked himself away for months, just drowning on more drugs and alcohol. Eventually, he was able to have a successful solo career. In a surprising turn of events, though, 2011 saw a mending of the relationship between Ozzy and his Sabbath bandmates. They reunited and toured the world for many years before ultimately deciding to close out their musical journey. Brian Jones from the Rolling Stones. Brian Jones, one of the Stones' founding members, played a huge role in shaping the band's early sound and image. But on June 9, 1969, the world was shocked that he decided to leave the band because of personal differences. Even though it shocked the world, it wasn't shocking for the remaining members of the Stones. The day before the announcement, they'd already fired Brian, stating he wasn't a reliable band member anymore because of his drug use. He was becoming such a wreck, he couldn't be trusted to even show up to recording sessions. Because of their difference in music visions and the effect of fame, Brian turned to drugs until he became an empty shell, far from the guy that drove the Stones to fame and fortune. Tragically, a mere 3 weeks after he left the band, Brian Jones died drowning in his own home swimming pool. His untimely passing marked him as yet another member of the ill-fated 27 Club, a group of musicians who passed away at the age of 27. Steven Adler of Guns N' Roses. Drug use is acceptable for many hard rock and heavy metal bands. But there comes a point where the impact of drugs renders an individual practically incapable. That's exactly what happened to Steve Adler of Guns N' Roses. Steven's struggle with substance abuse began to overshadow his ability as a musician, and that led to his eventual dismissal from GNR. While the band was navigating the challenges of their newfound fame, Adler's struggles with substance abuse proved to be a huge obstacle that got in the way of the band's progress. Slash, Steven's high school friend and bandmate, initially did not want to fire him from the band. This is why he gave him more than a year to try and sober up. But even with all that time, Steven would still be high and unable to perform their songs properly. Ultimately, in 1990, Guns N' Roses made the difficult decision to part ways with Steven. The drummer didn't take this lightly, as he filed a lawsuit against the band, claiming they forced him to sign a contract that removed his financial interest from the band. The case was eventually settled out of court in 1993. Aaron Iljay from Avenged Sevenfold. It's never easy to fill someone's shoes when joining a band, and this was the exact case for Aaron Iljay, the Avenged Sevenfold drummer. Aaron Iljay joined Avenged Sevenfold in 2011 as a session and touring musician after the tragic death of their original drummer, Jimmy the Rev Sullivan. Seeing his dedication and ability, the band decided to make him a permanent member in 2013. But Aaron Iljay was fired only after 2 years with the band. On their Instagram account, Avenged Sevenfold explained that Aaron was nothing but positive energy for him, but they stated creative differences as the reason for separation, saying, "Creatively, though, we felt we needed to move in a different direction." Years after the dismissal, Aaron opened up about how he was fired from the band. He said he got a call from the band's guitarist, Sinister Gates. He told Rolling Stone, "I was totally shocked and scared out of my mind when Sinister Gates called to let me go. I was like, oh my god, my wife's about to have a baby. How am I going to support my family now?" Luckily for him, bands like Islander wanted to make him a part of their band. He immediately got a call from Islander vocalist Mikey Carvajal after his departure from Avenged Sevenfold. Scott Weiland from Stone Temple Pilots. Getting fired's hard enough, especially when you find out about it the same time all your fans do. This unfortunate scenario happened to Scott Weiland, the founding member and frontman of the Stone Temple Pilots. The day before Scott found out, along with the rest of the world, that he was formally fired from the band, he denied rumors of STP breaking up. The announcement surprised everyone because there was almost no indication that it was bound to happen since Scott had been very open about future plans for the band. However, when asked about the real reason why Scott was fired from the band, the other members said that they had no choice. According to the band, Scott was let go because despite many previous warnings, he breached the terms of their contract by embarking on a solo tour to commemorate the anniversary of the band's debut album. He was also accused of improperly utilizing the band's name for personal gain. After his dismissal, STP sued Scott, alleging chronic tardiness and misuse of the band name. To respond, Scott filed a countersuit, alleging that his former bandmates had conspired against him to orchestrate his removal from the band. Scott later went on to do a solo career and formed the band Art of Anarchy. However, the world was shocked when tragedy struck in December 2015, when Scott's life was cut short by a drug overdose. William Goldsmith from the Foo Fighters. With the emergence of the Foo Fighters from the ashes of Nirvana, the band faced the challenge of overcoming constant comparisons and bruised egos. Unfortunately, William Goldsmith was one of the casualties. His departure from the Foo Fighters stemmed from creative differences and internal tensions. It all came down to the period when the band was recording their second album, The Color and the Shape. The process proved to be a challenge for the band. William's drumming style clashed with frontman Dave Grohl's expectations. Dissatisfied with what William had done, Grohl took it upon himself to recut the drum tracks for most of the songs on the album, practically and indirectly telling William that he was fired from the band. William immediately left the band and returned to his first band, Sunny Day Real Estate. Although Dave eventually asked him to come back to the Foo Fighters, William said he couldn't stomach it, stating in an interview, "I couldn't justify after all the work I put into the record was disregarded." Richard Wright from Pink Floyd. As one of Pink Floyd's founding members, Richard Wright played a huge role in shaping the band's musical identity. But during the recording of the album The Wall, tensions and conflicts arose within the band. After Floyd's 10th and successful album, Animals, the band took a break, and each member went on to do their own thing. While the others were busy with their own musical and personal endeavors, Roger Waters made early versions of The Wall. The band got back together in '79 because of pressure from their producer to make a new album. David Gilmour, Nick Mason, and Roger Waters agreed to use Roger's demo of The Wall as their new album. However, Richard Wright's involvement in the creative process became a point of contention. Allegedly, he contributed little to the album and merely followed Roger's directions without adding any substantial input. That's why Roger told David and Nick late in the album's creation that Richard should be removed from the creative process. All the members agreed, and Richard was formally fired from Pink Floyd in 1979. In a later interview, Richard admitted that he really wasn't contributing to the album's creation, saying he had little to offer, through laziness or whatever. Looking back, although I didn't realize it, I was depressed. Joey Jordison from Slipknot. Joey Jordison's departure from Slipknot in 2013 left fans speculating about the reasons behind his exit. Slipknot never gave any real details about the drummer's departure, only saying it was for personal reasons. There were lots of rumors that it was due to substance abuse that led to Joey's inability to perform and contribute to the band effectively, and for a long time, it was what the public believed to be true. But years later, Jordison opened up about the incident, saying he didn't appreciate the cowardly way the band fired him. He was bothered that many people assumed his health problems were linked to drugs. The reality was, Joey Jordison was diagnosed with a nervous system disease that hindered him from playing the drums right. He even cited incidents when he had to be carried to the stage during his final shows with Slipknot. After his departure from Slipknot, Joey Jordison managed to recover with medical assistance and physical therapy, regaining some use of his legs. But tragically, in July 2021, Joey passed away in his sleep, ending any possibility of a reunion with his former band. Dave Mustaine from Metallica. Dave Mustaine's departure from Metallica started one of heavy metal's most longest and most storied feuds. On his ride home after being fired from the band, Dave wasted no time and started writing songs. He started a new band, but despite his immense success with Megadeth, he carried the weight of his dismissal from Metallica. However, he admitted that it was a long time coming, and he just refused to see it. Although Metallica called themselves Alcoholica because of how much they loved to drink, the effect of alcohol on Dave ultimately sealed his fate. Dave's alcohol abuse was taking a toll on his relationships, his reliability, and his ability to contribute to the band's creative process. They hit a wall when Dave would continuously be aggressive to his bandmates. The decision to let Dave go from Metallica wasn't an easy one, but it was deemed necessary for the well-being and stability of the band. In the end, it gave birth to another iconic band and Dave's road to sobriety, Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix, often regarded as one of rock's all-time greatest guitarists, was a pioneering and influential figure in the 60s music scene. But even the most well-known rock icon has been fired from a band he was part of. Jimi joined Little Richard's band, the Upsetters, in 1964 and quickly made a name for himself with his exceptional guitar skills and showmanship. However, he was ultimately fired from the band because he missed the tour bus. Little Richard's brother, Robert Penniman, had this to say about Jimi. The guy was never on time. He was always late for the bus and flirting with the girls and stuff like that. Despite his unbelievable skills, the incident of Jimi missing the tour bus was the last straw leading to his dismissal from the Upsetters. Another of the primary reasons for Jimi's dismissal from Little Richard's band was his flamboyant stage presence and his tendency to steal the spotlight. Jimi's captivating stage antics overshadowed Little Richard's performance, inevitably leading to tensions. Little Richard may have felt threatened by the attention Jimi was getting, so he had to let him go. Even though his time with Little Richard's band was short and ended badly, it was an essential step in Jimi's journey. It sparked a fire in him, making him want to go his own way and make music that changed the world forever. The stories of how these artists left serve as a reminder of how fragile artistic collaborations can be and how bands can change in ways that are hard to predict. Even though the reasons for firing them may be different, one thing stays the same: the emotional toll it takes on everyone involved.